Hey, man, how's everybody doing? Grant Nape here. Sean Salisbury is going to be joining me here in just a little bit. I hope that everybody is having a hell of a day. Now, this has been a crazy week, man, right? This has been an absolutely crazy week. John Gruden, no longer the coach of Vegas. You got the Kyrie Irving news. And I want to talk about the venom and the hatred and all of this spewing that's going on in this country when it comes to difference of opinion. I've talked a lot about this on rants and my podcast, and I'm going to get into that in just a moment. Tonight, we've got football. We've got Philadelphia hosting Tampa Bay, but the big game on your card, and this is what we all wanted, Giants, Dodgers, one-game playoff. The winner goes on to take on the Atlanta Braves. Two best teams all year, no doubt about it, going head-to-head in San Francisco. This is going to be an absolute dandy tonight in San Francisco. Dodgers, Giants, eye to two with the two best teams. The only thing that's really a shame is that we had to see them so early in the postseason. This game tonight, you do not want to miss. I will not miss this game. I can tell you that. So I want to get to that. And again, Sean Salisbury is going to be coming on here in just a little bit. Now, John Gruden, Kyrie Irving, everyone has an opinion and everybody's entitled to an opinion. I mean, after all, we live in the United States of America, right? Shouldn't you have a voice? Shouldn't you be allowed to give your opinion? Are there consequences sometimes of giving your opinion? Yes, but the point I'm trying to make here is I've watched a lot of people on social media spew a lot of hatred and venom at one another this week. And I'm talking about people with the blue check marks, meaning they're verified on Twitter. And it's unbelievable what is out there. And it reminds me of what Kevin Youkilis, the former MLB player, said. Let me read this to you. Yuke said this in the summer of 2020, and he's spot on. The mental health and well-being of our country is deteriorating, and social media is the culprit. The constant hatred towards others that don't share the same opinions is tiresome and unhealthy for our society. We all need to be better so the next generation is healthier and happier. How about that line? The constant hatred towards others that don't share the same opinions is tiresome. Doesn't that go on 24 hours a day now? I mean, I see it on the network news programs. I see it with blue check mark on Twitter, meaning people that are verified. I see it all over the place. I mean, genuine hatred because you don't share the same opinion. And I got to tell you, I saw a lot of it leading up to the election. And I had a lot of frank conversations with people that said that they had basically removed and left friendships for years and years and years because of their political viewpoint. And I'm like, really? I'm like, you're going to cancel a friendship, a lifelong friend or a family member because they have a different political opinion than you? No wonder why our country is so freaking screwed up. No wonder why we can't have any conversations anymore and discussions. Why? Why is it like that? I don't quite understand that. I really do not understand that. And I thought Kevin Youkilis coming out and saying the constant hatred towards others that don't share the same opinions is tiresome and unhealthy for our society. So John Gruden is no longer the coach of the Raiders, and everyone has an opinion. But if my opinion or your opinion is not in the majority, and if those disagree with me, then all of a sudden I have anger and hatred coming my way because somebody doesn't agree with me. Then they name me and they label me and they stereotype me. Why? Why do we do that for? Why do we have to have such hatred? Why do we stereotype someone because they vote a certain way. I mean, I still do not understand that. Our country right now, to me, is so divided. You know, I go swimming most mornings at about 6:30, and there's a guy that's in the pool. He is almost 20 years older than me. Does a lot of exercises. And we have just amazing conversations after I get done with my swim in the pool. And he is a guy that has a different political viewpoint than I do. And we have very open conversations. And we talk a lot about it. And, you know, the next day we pick up and start where we left off. And there's no hatred. There's no animosity. There's no, I don't want you to be my friend anymore. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Why is that so hard to do? Why do we have to be so divisive? You know, look at all the people that have gotten into it over John Gruden. Seriously. What's just wrong with giving your opinion? You don't have to win. There's no game that you're winning because of an opinion, right? I mean, you make an opinion and you make your opinion, and then you leave it where it is. You're not trying to win anyone over, are you? I mean, if you are, then try to go into a debate. Debate somebody. And even then, it's subjective. You know, ask yourself this question. The National Football League has around 650,000 emails in the investigation of the Washington football team. Think about that. 650,000 emails. Do you not find it odd that the only emails that have been leaked are about John Gruden and the Raiders? I ask you that question because of the numerous contentious lawsuits that the late Al Davis had with Pete Rozelle and the National Football League. The reason why the Raiders are in Vegas and not the number 2 market in the country, Los Angeles, is because the NFL didn't want Mark Davis as an owner in the number 2 market. Is this the NFL's way of forcing Mark Davis out of the National Football League? I mean, ask yourself, why is it that out of 650,000 emails, these are the only emails that have been leaked and have been made public? How strange is that? It doesn't even have anything to do with the Washington football team. Nothing, really. I mean, John Gruden didn't work for Washington. He was a commentator for ESPN. Very good relationship with Bruce Allen, who was the GM when John was in Oakland and then in Tampa. But what does John Gruden have to do with the Washington football team? So 650,000 emails, and the only emails that are at our disposal are emails of John Gruden? Really? Do you believe that? Do you honestly believe that this was an accident? In other words, that it just happened? How could you believe that? How could you believe that 650,000 emails, okay, and all of a sudden a handful are leaked and they all have to do with one man, John Gruden? Right? I don't know about you, but that sounds very puzzling to me. Very puzzling to me indeed. And you can make whatever you want out of it. I'm just telling you, that seems very odd to me. Very odd indeed. So I don't know where things are going to go from here. I know the NFL Players Association wants all of the emails released. How would you like to be the person that's got to go through 650,000 emails? That's number one. Number two, are we naive to think that there's not going to be more fallout from 650,000 emails, right? I mean, what are we supposed to believe? That out of 650,000 emails, that everything else is just fine? That it's only John Gruden? You don't believe that, do you? If you do believe that, I think you're naive. I think you're naive. So if you want, again, this tweet by Kevin Euclid, I love. The mental health and well-being of our country is deteriorating, and social media is the culprit. The constant hatred towards others that don't share the same opinions is tiresome and unhealthy for our society. We all need to be better so the next generation is healthier and happier. You know what? We got a long way to go there, because the constant hatred towards others that don't share the same opinions is not only tiresome and unhealthy for our society, you know what? It's getting worse. Getting worse. And you know what? Social media is the culprit. And social media is not going away. And the reason why we have so much venom and animosity and hatred towards groups of people is because of social media. And I get the fact of the people that got 2 or 3 followers, they're not really relevant. I'm talking about the people with blue check marks that have been verified. It's unbelievable to me. I mean, it really is absolutely unbelievable to me. So I don't know where this all ends up, but we can't be naive to think that these emails that are in the hundreds of thousands don't implicate others with something that they shouldn't have written or done or said, whatever. All right? That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. And you know what's also interesting, and I made this comment on Friday of last week, and I did it again on Monday. And correct me if I'm wrong here. As we sit here on, what is the date? October 14th, 2021, I've heard those that have come out and said that John Gruden is a fraud, Keyshawn Johnson. I saw Jack Del Rio's comment that he has no respect for John Gruden. I've seen Mike Tomlin's comment about being sad, Sean McVay, and many others. You know what I haven't seen yet? I haven't seen one person, not one, come out and make anything racial about John Gruden's comments. Now, I've seen it written. I've seen headlines that have said racist comments. What makes John Gruden's comments racist? I'm asking. Because he said that Demore Smith has lips like Michelin tires. That's racist? If it was racist, and John Gruden is racist, how come as of right now, there have been no racial claims at all about Gruden? Why is that? Wouldn't you think? I mean, Keyshawn Johnson didn't say that. He just said he's a fraud. He didn't say anything about being discriminatory. He didn't say that John was racist. He said, I didn't like the guy and I didn't respect him. That's fine. It's fine for a black person to say they don't like a white person and vice versa. There are white people I don't like. There are black people I don't like. There are people of all ethnicities that I don't care for. It has nothing to do with their ethnicity, the color of their skin, their religion, their sexuality. It's because I don't like them as a person. I don't like what they stand for. I don't like the way they live their life. What's wrong with that? I've been a huge critic of Conor McGregor, who's one of the biggest sports icons in the world, the MMA fighter. I think Conor McGregor is a bad guy and a dangerous human being. I've never watched one of his fights, and I won't. And I think people that cheer for him need to look in the mirror. Look at his arrest record. Look at his rap sheet. Why are you cheering for a man like that? You know, I'm not making that comment because he's not American. He's from over the pond. I'm not making that comment because of his skin color. I'm making that comment because that's what I believe in. You know, I was critical. I've been critical of a lot of people. But again, I want to read this one more time. And Sean Salisbury, by the way, is going to be joining me momentarily, because I think that this is so important to where we're at in our society right now. And again, I want to read this from a year and a half ago. Kevin Youkilis. The mental health and well-being of our country is deteriorating, and social media is the culprit. The constant hatred towards others that don't share the same opinions is tiresome and unhealthy for our society. So, you look at the comments about John Gruden, you look at the comments about Kyrie Irving, and you look at the hypocritical, ridiculous double standards that are now in our sports leagues. I mean, look at the National Football League, for crying out loud. I talked about this the other day. I talk about this on my podcast. Deshaun Jackson comes out with his anti-Semitic comments a summer ago, and the NFL comes out with a statement, and then John Gruden and the NFL comes out with a statement and then says they feel bad for those that are affected by his words, blah, blah, blah. They didn't put that in Deshaun Jackson's statement, his anti-Semitic comments. Why don't you feel bad, the NFL, for the Jewish people that were offended? Right? I mean, it's ridiculous. I got a guy right there by the name of Sean Salisbury.
What's up?
How are
you? Got me?
I got you.
I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I was just talking about something. I want to bring this in there because I was just talking about this week and the venom and the hatred and how sad it is that we can't have a difference of opinion. I was talking about John Gruden and I was talking about Kyrie Irving. So I'm going to bring you in here. I read this to you a couple of months ago and I want to read it to you again because I think that this was so spot on. This was a tweet from Kevin Youkilis about 16 or 17 months ago, the former baseball player. The mental health and well-being of our country is deteriorating and social media is the culprit. Now, this is the line that I absolutely love, Sean. The constant hatred towards others that don't share the same opinions is tiresome and unhealthy for our society. You could not say it any better than that. And I got to tell you, Sean, forget about the people that have 2 and 3 followers. I'm looking at people that have a blue check mark next to their name on social media. And the venom and the hatred going back and forth because difference of opinion about Gruden and everything else. I just said this before you came on. John Gruden has no one to blame but himself here. But Sean, don't you think it is odd that the NFL has 650,000 emails and the only emails that have leaked out are about John Gruden and the Raiders? Does this go back to the late Al Davis and his numerous lawsuits against the NFL and Pete Rozelle? Is this the NFL wanting Mark Davis out of the NFL? How is it, Sean, that 650,000 emails and the only emails that are released don't even really have anything to do with the Washington football team? It's John Gruden. How the hell does that happen? And people that bring that up, Sean, get attacked on social media? Why? Why can't we have this discussion, Sean?
Well, we can, but a lot of people are on deaf ears, Grant. And here's the thing. It's real simple. I can love John Gruden, I've heard it from some that if he's your friend, you can love him, man. You can be his friend and completely disagree with what you saw in those emails. Because if you don't disagree with you saw just the emails, then maybe you don't have a pulse because they were heinous. There's no doubt. The other side of it is, though, if John Gruden has a friend, am I supposed to beat the friend into the ground, meaning mentally and emotionally and verbally, because that friend didn't turn their back on a guy who probably needs more help now than ever? I mean, I even heard Derek Carr say it. This is the time to love John Gruden. Grant, I'm telling you, it's the most exhausting thing for me. And getting back to your 650,000 emails, you can completely be appalled by what you saw and probably should be. But don't kid yourself with 650,000 emails and all we see is John Gruden's. Of course, that's not by accident.
Right.
Now, self-inflicted by John, of course. You put himself in that. But they're sifting through them. Yeah, I mean, if anybody argues that, then they're full of shit. Okay, let's put it that way. So listen, you look at him, you're like, man, what the hell? But Youkilis is right. You're right. I'm sitting here watching First Take, Stephen A. Smith, who I've known a long time, and I like Stephen. He's always been. And here's another thing, and I heard somebody say it. Well, guys, be good. I mean, if somebody's good to you, you got like Keyshawn is very good friends with Bruce Allen.
Right.
Great friends. And Keyshawn said, I was really hurt. Bruce and I talked all the time. He goes, I was really hurt when I saw the emails and I want to know. He said, I left Bruce a message and said, when all this is done, we need to sit down and talk. Oh, great. And that's the way it's supposed to be. Keyshawn could be hurt. He's not going to turn his back and not answer his phone, trying to understand why a guy he emotionally and cares about, what went on and why. Now, whether Bruce wants to share all those emails that he sent or whatever is one thing. But Keyshawn would like to know. Even if Keyshawn's bothered by what John Gruden did and he was very verbal about it, at least he wants to hear it out. And it's okay to hear it out. And Bruce will listen to Keyshawn, it's okay. You don't have to answer to everybody, but people that consider to each other close. And so it is all right. Listen, Grant, I got buddies that have been through hell and back. We all do know somebody. If it's not for that, it's another reason. I'm not turning my back on a guy who, like, let's say you know a married couple and one of them cheated on the other. They didn't like each other and they were just a bad relationship. And yet they're both your friends. Are you just supposed to turn your back on them? Or are you supposed to give them love and hope that whatever peace they can find in their life? Because John Gruden definitely needs to come to Jesus. But the other side of this is, I'm listening to Stephen A., who I love. I don't know Jay Williams very well. But all Jay Williams is saying, he says, I agree with the vaccine, and they're screaming back and forth. I agree with the vaccine. I encourage it. This isn't telling people to or to not get it. He just said Kyrie's making a decision based on what Kyrie wants, not what you or I want. And I'm paraphrasing. And it's like they want to, I mean, they couldn't take his answer. They can't take his answer. Listen, once again, I'm going to tell you this, Grant. At my house during the holidays, I'll have 45 to 50 people. I don't know if I've told you, coming over for Thanksgiving, right? Just like last year. At no time does anybody have to walk in my house. They can do what they'd like. Are they going to have to show me a vax card? Are they going to have to confirm to me that they've had COVID or not? Are they going to have to tell me their political affiliation? Are they going to have to wear a mask? If somebody comes to my house, friends and family, and wants to wear a mask, great. If they don't want to come because I'm not forcing 50 people to show vax cards at Thanksgiving, then I won't be mad at them. How to say, you got an opinion? I understand where you're coming from, and that's okay. You don't have to. Can we drive food over to you? You know what I mean? I don't mean I'm being serious. I don't know, Grant. I don't know when it hit. I don't. But if you're Republican and I'm Democrat, I'm supposed to hate you. If you're vax, and just because Jay Williams, who's vaccine, it sounded like vaccine friendly, but isn't berating a guy who's anti-vax right now, and Kyrie Irving. Listen, Kyrie Irving beats to a different drum. I don't know him from Adam other than watching him play hoops and listening to him and admire his game. He's different, but you know what? He probably thinks you and I are different, and he probably thinks Stephen A. and Jay Williams beat to their own drum. But I just don't understand why. You can disagree with Kyrie Irving and still want to watch him play basketball. And,
absolutely.
And if he's willing to stay home and doesn't want to play because not me, he doesn't feel comfortable, why am I supposed to hate the guy? And why am I supposed to hate the person who thinks different than me? We can have this conversation. To me, it's nothing.
I know.
I've seen where people say, well, I'll disregard. No, I'm not disowning a buddy because he got into trouble. I'm going to try to help him. I may not agree with the trouble he got in. I look and say, you dumbass, what are you doing? And you're going to face a lot of trouble, but let's see how we can. I'm not talking about harboring some guy who escaped from Alcatraz. I'm talking about loving somebody who's probably crying out for it, right? Trust me, Gruden's crying out for something. I don't know what it is, but he got himself in trouble. It's not just him, it's all over the place. If somebody invites you to go on Get Up and I were to say, or go on with Stephen A. and First Take or any of them, I think Stephen A.'s passionate. He works his ass off.
Yeah, right.
I disagree with some of the stuff he said, but that they disagree, whether it's X's and O's or an opinion on anything. But to sit there, if they were to have me on and I were to say, people ask me all the time, I don't really care what Kyrie Irving decision he makes. Well, he signed to play. Yeah, he did. And you know what? When he signed his contract, I don't think we had vaccinations, and maybe he's afraid to death of them. I don't know the reason. And I think they're mad because he hasn't stood ground for, well, what is your reason? The truth is he doesn't owe me. He doesn't owe me an answer. He owes his family and the owner an answer. He doesn't owe me an answer. And if you don't want to hang around him, then don't hang around him. I don't understand the vitriol and hatred for everybody all the time. Oh, and it could be over a peanut butter sandwich.
Absolutely. He did, by the way, he did come out and give his reasons. And I've been very open about this. I personally feel that he's letting down his teammates. However, I also said it's his individual right. He is the one that's making this decision. He has spoken to his teammates about this. His teammates were on record as saying they respect Kyrie for making this decision. He's willing to give up a shitload of money, possibly a championship, because he is standing up for what he believes in. Now, do I think that he needs to be there for his team? Yes, I do. I think when you're a member of a team, I think you have a responsibility to that team. Okay. But I'm not criticizing a guy because he's not taking a vaccine. I don't understand it, but I'm not criticizing him. That's his individual choice. Right. But there are too many fucking people in this country that are boom, 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 boom. And it's like they got to win something. No, you don't have to win anything. Your opinion and my opinion can be different. And at the end of the day, we're like, hey, man, I really respect you, even though I think your opinion's full of shit, but I can really respect you, you know?
Grant, you make such a great point. Isn't it? It is okay to be kind and even think you're right, but without having to use a sledgehammer to prove it. It just is. Sometimes it's even better sometimes to be that way. Listen, I am as a former team guy. If you want to play an individual sport and go golf and don't do it, right? Tennis, have at it. I'm with you. Listen, do I believe that guys that decide it's the same thing. You kind of, and now it's different because other people are affected and holding out. Like if, let's say you decide you want to sit out the last 6 games of your college football career to go to the pros and your team's pretty good. Well, like the Eric King did here at the University of Houston, he sat out after an 0-4 start. His coach suggested it, was going to redshirt, and then ended up going to Miami, right? I was livid over that. I thought it was weak and a letdown. My first thought was he's doing this because they're having a bad season and he doesn't want to. He's bailing. And then you find out that the coach had talked to him and wanted him to redshirt. And then you thought, well, okay, he's coming back here. And then he ended up transferring to Miami. Not blaming on anybody, but until we get all the facts, I was bothered. I said, man, you don't do that to your teammates. And although you're not getting sick from somebody transferring back then, this was pre-COVID, you are, though, in a sense, when I always say when you're a teammate, you have a responsibility like you do to your family. I believe that. When you're a good player, they're counting on you and you expect them to be there. So I may disagree with that, but I'm not going to call him a sellout because he's deciding money-wise and all this, that this shot for him has decided that it is more important than any championship, explaining it to his teammates, saying, listen, I hope you respect me. This is what I want to do for me. How can I hate him for that? I may disagree. And I'm with you. I like guys to show up and do because there are consequences for everything. And the consequence for not showing up is, and I know here's the next answer. Well, he's got all the money he needs. I don't know when enough's enough for a guy. I don't know how much money, but he's given up all this and he knows he's going to get browbeat. He knows people are going to talk, completely drag him on, with their comments and be mean and call him bad names. And all he's doing is saying, listen, I'm making a decision for my family. As if a fan, he's supposed to make the fan for the guy in the third row to appease him and a season ticket holder. So Kyrie Irving deserves, at least he's convicted about something. His conviction is this shot is not for me right now. Maybe he'll change his mind. There's plenty of people that are working on those networks and places that are forced to get a vaccine and have admitted it and had to. And you know what they did because they felt it was best for them and they want to work. Kyrie right now feels this is best. So for me, I don't ever beat down somebody. And I know opinion's okay, but have an opinion and then still embracing the guy. He's not going to bother anybody. He's not putting anybody else in danger. Right. If the team has decided to move on and this state has this rule, he knew going in and team knows it. And our responsibility as players, when a guy gets hurt, we keep playing. He's not vaccinated. He can't play. You keep playing. So it's mixed for me. You cannot agree on one part and, just dislike what he did on one part and say it's okay on the other, or not like that he didn't get the vaccine. Yeah. But it's not my vaccine. It's his vaccine. So I don't see the world from a be mean and just completely rip people to shreds. I see it from, I respect an opinion, even though it may be different than mine.
All right. You just made a couple of comments, and I want you to take me into an NFL locker room. What's gone on this week with the Raiders is beyond description. They have to play at Denver this week. We always hear the last thing that teams want are distractions. This is about as big of a distraction as you can have. As a player in the locker room, how do you think they respond on Sunday? How difficult do you think it is preparing to take the field this weekend?
Well, you go through it. They've had their time to think about it. I'm looking at it from the X's and O's standpoint. How well did they get into their book and still prepare? Because the interim coach has a job to do. While I know Gruden's gone, but I hate to say it, when somebody's out of the building, like when you fire a coach or a player gets hurt, what does everybody have to do? We hear this question when a player gets hurt.
Yeah.
Well, man, or suspended or PDAs, right? Or should I performance enhancing drugs that, that what I say, PDA? No, that's a thing you have in your phone. Whatever. Performance enhancing drugs is what I meant.
PEDs.
Yeah, PEDs. Thank you.
Right.
Performance enhancing. I got a PDA. You want my BlackBerry so you can? Yeah. Don't say that, because that email had a bunch of BlackBerry messages in it in Washington, right? Yeah, PEDs is what I meant. Is you got the guy's out for 4 weeks and he let the team down because he decided he wanted to, and so you got to perform. Now this is different because the same guy that's telling you he loves it in the locker room has made these comments about it, anti-gay comments. And if you're Carl Nassib, you're thinking, dang, well, now he's out of the building. You embrace the next coach. Derek Carr loves John Gruden, but Derek Carr's job is to take care of 52 or 53 others and a team and an org. That's his job. So while it'll be tough, and people is that a rallying cry, listen, things are rallying cries until somebody else punches harder than you and plays better, right? So the key for me isn't will they overcome John Gruden. I think the key for me is was it such a big distraction that they can't focus on the preparation that leads in when they hit the field on Sunday? I don't think as pros like Carr and Carl Nassib and these guys, and Waller, I don't think they're going to go in there when they drop a ball saying, well, if John would have been here or wouldn't have done this or made those bad comments about African Americans or anti-gay or misogynistic, that I wouldn't have dropped that ball. I don't believe players operate like that. I don't. Yes, you go through that period of what in the hell happened here. And when you walk in off the field, you'll have conversations with your buddies. A opposing teammate during warm-up may come up and say, man, Brew, what happened? And you answer it, you move on. But when the game starts, the key is how hard can they prepare and focus leading into it. When that opening kickoff, Derek Carr's concerned about one thing, winning. Waller and Nassib, these guys.
Yeah.
But I can understand why somebody you felt that every single day had your back and you felt good about, and then he was looking you in the face and telling you he loves you and we got to go out and do this. And then all of a sudden, what happened? But unfortunately, it won't. How could it be easy for somebody to say, well, yeah, I just move on? But eventually, that's the cold part of the business is they're not canceling games this week, Grant. So they're going to play. And so it'll be tough. But you know what? I trust that the coach will get them ready.
Well, here's the other deal. It's not like the Raiders have succeeded under John Gruden. I've been saying this for weeks. I'm not impressed by John as a coach. That's right. They might be better.
Yeah.
Well, they can't be any worse. They haven't been in the playoffs in the first 3 years of Gruden in his second stint there. All right, I want to move on. I cannot wait for this game tonight with the Giants and the Dodgers. Two best teams in baseball. They proved it all year. 9 innings, maybe more. And the rivalry, the seasons that they both had, this to me is such a shame that it's in the first round. To me, this is almost like a game 7 of a World Series, this game. I can't, and I'm not a fan of either team. I can't wait to watch this game tonight.
Grant, I'm with you. I think, now I'm a huge hockey fan.
Me too.
And as a former football player, and you've been in basketball forever, maybe we're partial to it. But if you said, Sean, you want to go watch a Super Bowl or a Stanley Cup game 7?
Oh, it's easy. I'm going to hockey.
And without question.
Not even.
Yeah. And I think the drama in baseball, postseason baseball, may very well be because of all the time in between, the way the Vin Scullys, and they said, and the constant, and when Smoltz, if I don't even know who's doing the game tonight, if it's Smoltz and Buck, because it's Thursday night football as well. I don't know if Fox, I don't even know who's calling the game tonight, but the drama in between pitches and the teaching and the crowd and the history of the Giants and Dodgers rivalry. And, I don't want anybody beating each other up and doing the things they've done in the parking lot in the past. I want an inside, knock a guy in the dirt because, well, play him off the plate. I want to see, and this is, I'm with you. I won't miss a pitch. This is my favorite postseason, not named hockey. And I think this is the most dramatic postseason in sports we have. And I'm with you. This is game 7. It has to be game 7 in the World Series atmosphere, an elimination game or whatever that is if you're down 3-0, because the national, listen, the Giants have been the best team in baseball all year long, and they're on the brink of possibly losing at home. And can they eliminate the Dodgers? It's going to be, it's crazy. And I think, you're not getting Scherzer and Madison Bumgarner and Clayton Kershaw ain't pitching for either one of those teams because, Kershaw pitching, but not pitching tonight, obviously. But on that team, and Bumgarner, he ain't starting like it was when Bush Bochy was there. But the ballpark, everything about this reeks of dramatic finish, right? Now, unlike the American League, I'm not sure this is going to be 11-9 type of game. It may be 3-1 type of game, right? An extra base, small ball double.
Yeah.
Grant, I'm with you. I love this, man. Neither one are my favorite teams, but I'll tell you what, I'll be rooting hard for great baseball tonight. It'll be awesome.
You're going to love this story. Speaking of hockey, I grew up as a diehard Rangers fan. And the Rangers were always terrible for the most part when I was growing up. They did go to the finals in '79, lost to Montreal. But in 1994, when they played Vancouver in the Stanley Cup Finals, obviously June of '94, there was a crazy June because it was the O.J. Simpson Bronco chase. It was the Knicks were in the strike-shortened season with the Spurs. But my roommate from college, George McPhee, who played with the Rangers when he came out of college, he was the whole. George was the GM at Washington for 17 years. Now he's the president of hockey operations for Vegas. George is one of my best friends. So George was the right-hand man to Pat Quinn up in Vancouver in '94. So I went to games 3 and 4 in Vancouver. Rangers are up 3-1. I come back to Sacramento I was a sports director on the news. So I anchored the news, the sports, get on a red eye, fly to New York. George had got me 2 tickets. I had called up my dad. I go, Dad, we're going to the game. We're going to go see the Rangers win the cup for the first time since 1940. And my dad is so excited, and we can't. So I take the red eye. We go in. I meet my dad. Tickets are going for, in 1994, $5,000 cash on the street. I'm like, I wouldn't fucking sell my ticket for $50,000. So anyway, we go into the game. The Rangers lose 6-3. I can't believe it. You think there's no way they're going to lose the game. They lose 6-3.
It was at the Garden, you said, right?
Yeah. Yep. Next morning, I get up, fly to Sacramento, work on the news, go back to Vancouver for game 6, okay? And I'm staying at George's place. I'm a big fucking Rangers fan. And so Rangers lose game 6. And I go, George, I got to go back for game 7. He goes, Napes, I can only get you 1 ticket for game 7. Come back to Sacramento, do the sports, go to New York on a red eye. I don't know if you remember this, but I grew up right around the corner.
I know exactly where I was. I'll tell you where I was when they won that. I know exactly where I was standing when they won.
All right. So I grew up with Christopher Russo, Mad Dog Russo, and I grew up around the corner from each other. So I meet Chris at a coffee shop at like 10:30 in the morning, the day of game 7. And he goes, hey, do you want to just come in and watch the show with me and Mike at the Garden? And I'm like, fuck yeah. And I'm like, well, how am I going to get in? He goes, don't worry about it. So we walk into the security entrance at Madison Square Garden. And, the security guards, hey, Chris, hey, dog. And I walk right in with him. Nobody asked for my pass or anything. I get in that elevator. We go up to the 5th floor. So I'm in the, they at Madison Square Garden where they announced the Rangers and Knicks was just above the surface. And,
oh, yeah.
All right. So I'm in there. So I'm listening to Mike and Chris all day, getting ready for game 7. And then Chris goes, where's your ticket for game 7? I go, George is leaving me at will call. He goes, don't you go there. I'm going to have someone go pick it up for you. So Chris has someone go pick up my ticket. Rangers win the Stanley Cup 3-2. It was one of the great nights I've ever had. But I will tell you, to this day, Sean, now back then, they when you walked into the turnstile, they ripped your ticket and they gave you the ticket stub. To this day, I still have an unused Game 7 ticket. I sat in my seat, but I was already in the building, so it didn't have to be ripped. But think about this, Sean. I went to games as a fan, not as a media member. Games 3 and 4 in Vancouver, 5 in New York, 6 in Vancouver, 7 in New York. And Sean, I was doing the sports in Sacramento on the news at night, on the off nights. How about that for you?
What a great story, dude. Because
where were you at?
They're going to clinch it right off the bat.
Yeah.
And and Messier being there, right?
Yeah. Where were you at on that game? Where did you watch that?
Now, here's the irony here. I live now, obviously, in Houston, where I work.
Yeah.
I was in Houston visiting, working out, and getting ready for the Oilers season. It was near the end of my career. And I can remember we were a place called Little Woodrow's. Me and a couple buddies. I remember where I was standing. And you think about this now. It is wall to wall. There's no place to sit in this bar. The Houston Aeros and Gordie Howe and Mark Howe ain't playing in this. It's the Vancouver and Milk Messier. And it almost felt like everybody in the world wanted Mess to do this thing with the Rangers, right? And I can remember him skating. I remember where I was standing, and that bar no longer open. There's a bunch of little Woodrows here, but I can remember exactly where I was standing up, the celebration. I watched the entire thing, and I've been in Madison Square Garden and all that. It is the mecca for about everything, you know, that old building. But hockey, first of all, your great story, the unused, because now even though you didn't have to laser it, but that's what they would have anyway. And I'll never forget that 94 Stanley Cup. And it's so weird. We're sitting here talking about this, but if I had one season ticket, and like if wherever I live, you know, I would buy season tickets to hockey and only hockey.
Oh yeah,
and
no question.
And I have a hard time missing any. Well, the first time Vegas, because my family's out there, my girl lives out there in Vegas from there. When their first season and when they got the Stanley Cup and got beat by Ovi, I was there games 1 and 2. Flew in, went to games 1 and 2 for that very reason, because that's
what an atmosphere. How about that atmosphere there?
Oh, let me tell you something now. They take Hollywood. I mean, they take Vegas Showtime and the showgirl, and they turn it into a Vegas show. Yeah. And a hockey game breaks out. A hockey match breaks out. It is, I guess, short of the national anthem in Chicago with the Blackhawks before the game when you're seeing it. The atmosphere before the game in Vegas, nothing like it. So your story's awesome, man. Caruso and Mad Dog and Mike and Dog go in there, and you're doing the news and the sports, should I say, flying all over the country. Your buddy's a big timer, and you're going there. Oh, ticket! I'm on a plane, red eye, tired as hell, and go and watch hockey. That's love, brother. I'm with you. Yeah. I've been and I was just thinking when you were talking about the Rangers since the 40s, I'm thinking, and I go back when the Brad Park days when we used to watch them.
Eddie Jacquemin.
Yeah, Jacquemin in goal, and Brad Park. Yep. And then at the time also and that prime when the Islanders were floating out Trottier and Bossy and that group, and then Boston even before that old school, them with Wayne Cashman. I mean, I think about all those old grew up watching every Saturday at 10 in the morning on the West Coast.
Best bumper sticker I've ever seen in my life was in the 70s when Phil Esposito was playing for the Bruins. And the bumper sticker on the car that I saw on the fucking Long Island Expressway said, "Jesus saves, but Espo scores on the rebound."
That's awesome. Speaking of hockey, we all have our nights that you consider one of your 5 greatest sports nights. I don't know if I've ever told you this real quick, but I'm at an event, the Tyson Foods in Arkansas, which is the Tyson Foods you see, big corporate, they're like Fortune 500 company. Yeah. And that's where Walmart is in the same town, right? The Tyson Foods CEO has an event. They invited like 30 celebrities to come, and it's like, I don't know. I'm there. This one I'm doing TV at ESPN, and it's Eli and Archie and Brett Hull and Bobby Hull and Phil Esposito and Wade Boggs. It's a who's who, and then there's me. It's like Sesame Street. One of these things, not like the other. Actors are there, and there's probably 40 of them. And I'm thinking, well, one of these things is not like the other, but I'll pretend like I'm a celebrity. They think I am, so what the hell? And the night before the tournament, we go to a place called Eddie Haskell's in Arkansas. It's a bar, great place. And so I'm going, and all of a sudden, Brett and Hully is from Dallas, and so I'm living in Dallas at the time. And Brett Hull says, "Come on, Sean." And so Brett Hull and I and Wade Boggs, Phil Esposito, and Bobby Hull go to Eddie. Wow. And I'm sitting, it's got Boggsy on my right, myself, Brett Hull, Bobby Hull, and Bobby would have fought anybody at that time too. At his age, he would have fought anybody. And so we sat down, and before anything, we sit down outside a beautiful outdoor patio. The weather was perfect. And all of a sudden you hear it, and people are starting to gather almost like outside of, like, it felt like a velvet rope that you're sitting there staring at your favorite celebrity. I'm like, I'm with you guys. I'm sitting here with these guys. And I look over at all 4 of them, Hall of Famers. And then there's me. And Brett Hully looks at me and goes, "Sean, wait till you get a load of this," meaning talk about the stories we're going to hear tonight. And so we're going through it. And Wade Boggs, one of the greatest hitters ever, another Hall of Famer, Boggsy taps me. We're sitting here. I'm sitting here, and there's 80 million shots on the table, and everybody's laughing and having a good time. And they start, and then Bobby and Espo are standing up telling stories of old school stories. And Brett Hull says, "Wait till you hear this." And Wade Boggs, who's been through everything and all the great stuff,
Yeah.
eating chicken 8 million days in a row. Asked me, he goes, Sal, I can't believe this. He goes, look at this. Look who's here. I said, dude, what are you talking about? Are you fucking kidding me? I'm sitting next to Wade Boggs. I'm sitting next to Brett Hull. I'm sitting next to Bobby Hull, Phil Esposito, and then there's me. And we cracked up. And I'm telling you, for 4 hours, 5 hours, we drank, laughed, and listened to Bobby. And I was waiting for somebody to come up and say something so Bobby Hull could go over the table and start get after somebody. And
hey.
we had, I mean, the
hockey players are the best.
And one of my 5 best nights in the world, and most of them were hockey stories.
Yeah,
and
hockey is the best.
I wanted to hear Boggsy talk about hitting, Espo talk about the rebound, I hear Bobby talk about everything, and then Brett Hull just sit there, and it was one of the great nights of my life, and people, their eyes were big, and I was like a kid in a candy store with 4 Hall of Famers and me, and I will never forget it, and a lot of it had to do with 3 great hockey guys, and Boggsy and I both loving the hockey, right? It was an incredible night.
Hockey players to me are the best guys. I love being around hockey guys. A real quick story here. When George was playing with the Rangers in the early 80s, they lost in the playoffs to Washington, and it was a Friday night. And Phil Esposito owned a bar in Midtown Manhattan with Ron Duguay, and I can't remember the other guy. It was called The Sticks. And the bar was shaped like the top of a hockey goal. It was very cool. So we closed that. It was like 3 a.m. And we end up at the pub in Rye, New York, which is where the Rangers trained. They trained in Rye, New York. And there was a bar up there called the Pub. So we're in there all night Friday. And on Saturday, we're in there all day Saturday. A couple of guys had come and gone, but for the most part, most of the guys are the entire Rangers team. The bartender, the guy that owned the pub was called Hitch. So Saturday night, he goes, guys, we're closing down. I got to go home. I can't do this anymore. I go, Hitch, listen, no. I tended bar for 4 years in college. I can tend bar. He goes, no way. You're going to give the bar away. I go, Hitch, I swear on my life, I will not give the bar away. Teach me how to work the register. I end up tending bar Saturday night to the Rangers. Tom Laidlaw's in there, Ron Greschner, and Carol Alt, the supermodel. Ron ended up marrying her. Carol Alt's at the bar. I remember Tom Laidlaw and Ron Greschner are drinking Jack and Coke. I remember the shit, and literally we stayed there all night. Hitch comes in early Sunday morning. We had literally drank the bar dry. I am not bullshitting you. And the stories, the freaking stories that the guys were telling, it was one of the very best nights of my entire life.
Yeah, Greschner and Carol Alt and everybody drink. I can imagine too. Duguay had to have. I'd say my mullet could take on Dugay's at his best. I was ready for Duguay.
Duguay was the best. Oh my God.
Awesome. I can already imagine. And you mentioned hockey players being the best, all the fun stories. And then they can get up and go play and work out the next morning after drinking all night. They're the best, man.
No problem.
Friggin' best. And
I know.
I will tell you this too. You have a charity event. They're the guys that would go play, do all the things they got. They'll hop on a plane at their expense, fly in, stay the whole time, donate money, raise money, get on a plane after, do everything you need them to do, and they'll be right there. Friggin' there next to you the entire time.
Yep.
I'm going a Harley ride, and I'm with, you remember old Mick Vukota? Mick Vukota and Twister. Tony Twister's a buddy of mine. I fly into Denver. Elway's, they're putting on a Harley ride for helmets. So we're going from Denver to Edmonton, Alberta to raise money. So I walk up, and I'm a big dude. You know, I'm doing TV then, but I'm 6'5", 235, 240 at the time, and had not far removed from my playing career. So I pull up in the back of the park, and they're working on their bikes and drinking beer in the back of a place where they're working on their bikes, and Vakota's there, who, you know, was a bit of a goon when he played and loved it. And I mean that affectionately. So I get off, and I'd never met Twister at the time in person. Dude, I look over, and there's this cat with a pair of blue jeans on, friggin' jacked, right? And he's got for people who know what I'm talking about, I'm a Harley guy, but the people listening and watching, ape hangers, which the high ape hangers, and a suicide clutch. So he got the ape hangers and the suicide clutch on his bike, and I'm thinking, this guy's out of his friggin' mind. Well, he is in a good way. So I go up, and Twister comes up. We start talking, but dude, I'm telling you, he was built like a tall, like an outside linebacker. And I knew all about Twister because I watch hockey, but I'd never met him.
Right.
So we're sitting there, and we get to talking, and we hang out and have a blast that night, and then we get on a ride the next morning. We're having a ball. We get into a bar one time. I said, or maybe it was that night, I looked at Twister and I said, what would happen if you and I threw down, if I got pissed and wanted to fight you? He was a trained boxer too. So that big, quick hands, kill you on skates or kill you. And I'm thinking, okay, let me see what Twister says. He goes, Sean, kind of put his hand on my shoulder. He goes, you don't want to die like that, man. And he was dead serious, but with a smile, meaning, dude, you're big, but you know what? You got no shot in this one. But the safest I've ever felt, or at least one of them, was on that trip, because if a bar breaks out, Vakota, Twister, they made a living either getting the hell knocked out of them or beating the hell out of somebody else, right? And great charitable gentlemen to everybody, over tip, make everything they do. I'm just telling you, they're the best on the planet. But I thought, if a fight breaks out, Twister, I'm standing back to back with you, brother, because it goes. But he was. I said, can I get you, Twister? He goes, what do you want, skates or in shoes? Take your choice, brother. How you want to go? Skates on? But I looked at it, and I'm telling you, he had those big, and we're driving down the freeway. He's got those. He was with his girl too, his girlfriend. Those ape hangers, and I'm talking about extended ape hangers on a Harley. And in order for him to shift, he had to take, he's got the suicide clutch. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, what are you going to do? You're going to beat the hell out of the pavement? We're rolling, right? And I'm thinking, that's a badass man right there. But it was a blast, and they're the most charitable giving guys. And they love you. They're a close-knit group. And if you're going to do that, that's the wrong group to mess with, right? You want to get on their good side. So great.
All right. Before we wrap this up, I want to get your take on the game tonight. We already went into the baseball game, but you have Tampa at Philadelphia. Do you see this being a competitive game?
For a minute, I do. I don't know if Philadelphia. Now, here's the important thing. We see it now. These dual threat guys, and Jalen Hurts playing pretty good football.
Yeah, he is.
A little bit last year. He's playing pretty good football for a guy who's not even played a full season as far as starting yet. I would expect him to some fits. I think the only way that we have a question is, how bad is Tom's thumb?
Yes.
And if Tom's thumb's okay, which he says it is, then they'll be fine. I think they can hang around for a minute, but I think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers put this one away. They're a far better team, and I think it's the defense. And one thing that the Tampa's defense can do, and we know they stop the run, they make you one-dimensional. So Jalen may have to throw more, but their linebackers, Levante David and White, they run, Grant, sideline to sideline. So even if Jalen does break out, we got these cats that are so fast and so explosive now, they can run him down. So advantage, their defense can make the Philadelphia Eagles one-dimensional. It could be a long night. On the other side, with all these weapons, I'm not sure if even if Tom's at 85%, I'm not real sure, unless they get some kind of ungodly pressure on him, how they're going to prevent the sideways and then the vertical passing game. Yep. Even without Gronk, on a regular basis, they're too explosive. I'll take Tampa. They continue their onslaught, and they should be the favorite in the NFL still.
All right, now to college, and I want to just hit on this real quickly. Kentucky, a basketball school, Stoops has done a hell of a job with that football program. Now they're at number 11, but they're going to Athens at number 1. Do you see them being competitive in this game? I mean, I'll be surprised if they score more than 10 points. Give me your thoughts.
Grant, do you see what the line opened at?
I did not see the line. I'm sorry. Let me look it up real quick.
If I'm not mistaken, let's see, who they was that without Auburn? It opened at 24.5 maybe. But the line,
what's the line,
check the line out.
The Kentucky-Georgia game. I'm looking at it right now.
Here's Kentucky coming off. They're playing great. They're 11th ranked team in the country.
Right.
They're going into Athens, which is brutal. And when you get that line, you let me know, and I'll check too. But it is. I don't remember how you felt when Joe Burrow. This, I guess, the best way I can describe it. I got a lot of respect for Mark Stoops' team and the way they're playing. They dismantled LSU last week and scored some points. Grant, I want you. Somebody had asked me the other day, and I'm glad I get to share this part with you. Here's how I feel about Georgia's football team. And we already mentioned, I would not want to be Mike Leach's team against Alabama in Starkville this week after coming off that loss. But with this Georgia football game,
22 and a half points.
I think it opened at 24.5. Grant, I think
that's unbelievable.
That's when I saw that, because maybe it was 22.5 that I saw, not 24.5. We're talking about the 11th ranked team in America. Coming off a huge win going into Athens. They are 3+ touchdown dogs. Here's how I feel about Georgia, and this will be the easiest way I can answer it. Do you remember when Joe Brady and Joe Burrow had that offensive year when you watched them, or even Mac Jones last year, that historic year when they won the national championship, right? Joe Brady and Joe Burrow together, calling plays and executing. that you thought that no matter who they played, you could not stop them, right? Every game, all the time. I feel the same enthusiasm and wow factor about Georgia's defense as I did about LSU's offense. And that's how good they are. I don't know, as good as Kentucky may be, I don't know how they score touchdowns.
I don't either.
Even if Georgia scores 17 points, they're going to win. That's how good, unless their defense decides to miss a team bus. I love Mark Stoops, but they've played grown-up football. But the old LSU team didn't show up in Kentucky, in Lexington. This is going to be a little bit different grown-up football. I like Georgia, but I'll tell you what, giving me that many points with a possible backdoor cover, that's a lot of points for the 11th ranked team in America. Yeah.
Hey, you have a great night. This was a fabulous show, man. I love talking about this stuff. You're the best.
Anytime you want to talk hockey and stories all day, and then we got to get on a plane and go, because I'll go to hockey before I'll stand on the sidelines of a Super Bowl any day of the week.
You let me know when you want to go to Vegas. My buddy George will take care of us. We'll be all set up. We'll be ready to roll.
Let's do it, brother. I love you. You got me jacked up now about this hockey thing, man. I love it. Great story, too. I love it. I'll talk to you, man.
See you, buddy.
Have a great one.
All right.